Ready to go live? All right, we're live. So now let's start our podcast. All right. Going to start with our music and our intro. All right. Len, you good?
No.
Fuck you. All right, here we go.
Fuck me.
All right. Welcome to episode 18. This is our podcast, Just a Thought, with JD, Michael, and Len, the pig fucker. So I'm going to give you that right now, just in case he changed his name. We're doing two things here. We're obviously recording live on our... Actually, let me start the recording. I didn't even do that. I just fucked it up. It's a good thing we're live right now on the broadcast.
Really?
What a dumbass.
Did anybody see a recording? No. None of you.
Oh my God.
You jackass. I thought you did it.
Terrible.
Okay. Starting again.
Worst.
Hey.
Huh?
Restart. Let's go.
Jesus Christ.
Way to screw up the intro. Well, it's Just a Thought with JD, Michael, and Len. I've already said this before in the past. Say it now. Anyway, episode 18 this week. As I was saying, which is live on our...
When were you saying?
Like I was saying on our live stream right now. You have JD, Michael, and Len, a.k.a. Pig Fucker, because he's just going to screw around with shit.
Dumbass.
Anyway, we
Glass.
decided to finally put this on video. We're also doing our podcast live right now. So we're hoping to see how this goes. Gives people an opportunity to see what we look like, specifically what Mike looks like, because it's always important to understand what the guy in the middle looks like. So anyway.
Why does he look taller than us?
I don't know why.
Because
he's also going to be flanked by two white guys. The shading, we had to, place uniform.
It's true.
That's just how this is how it is, I guess. This is life. Story of my life.
Being sandwiched between two
but
white
it's great
guys.
to be here, guys. This is fantastic.
You are from San Francisco, right?
I am. Yeah.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
So you like being between two white guys, huh?
Wow. All right. So let's continue on.
What?
So this week,
the fuck?
the NBA was back. They finally kicked off some games. Lakers won as expected against the Clippers in a tight game.
Did they really? Good. What was the score?
It's like 104 to 102. It was close.
Close game.
Yeah. No, I know. It was close. So I said it was close. Anyway, point is that this week, it's kicked back off. You have a bunch of games going on right now. You have also baseball, which is probably near the end of its season, if you ask me, based on the fact that these guys keep catching COVID. A whole team, like 17 guys for the Florida Marlins or the Miami Marlins. I'm sorry.
Did you guys see that? Some people were like acting like they had like a party at a hotel room. Is why they all got it like at the same time. There was like a rumor that they had
they brought some girls in.
Sports, girls in, yeah. And I guess who knows what they did. I don't know what they would do. What do you think they would do in a hotel room? A bunch of girls, Mike.
Talking clearly, dude.
Yeah.
Getting to know someone.
Category.
Categories, yeah. Jenga. They're all playing Jenga. The human version of Jenga. There you go. That's what they're doing.
Right.
Uh-oh. Don't pull that one out. That's not going to work. Anyway.
There.
Wait, did you say pull out?
Can you imagine them do that? That's pretty funny looking.
Yeah, exactly.
That would look ridiculous.
I know, right? Anyway, so who knows what baseball's going to do? I know the commissioner said that they need to sort of tighten it up or the season's get over, but they're not quitters. They're not going to quit. I'm like, dude, if you start losing teams within the first week and you have to start postponing games, which they have already for the first week, I think that's a clear sign it's over. You might want to.
Yeah. They're going to. How much money is involved? I mean, they're going to press it.
Plenty.
Yeah, right? I mean, they're going to press it. They're not just going to let it go.
Not at all. Not at all. So
why are they even allowing them to have parties like that? That's just
they're not.
They're at a hotel, dude. They're doing. This is what they normally do. To them, they think, oh, it's okay. Well, clear. First off, let's be clear.
Which head were they thinking with?
Yeah. So it's the Miami Marlins.
Right.
Let's put it in perspective. Miami-Dade County has had the largest spike in the last month as far as COVID-19 cases.
Right.
So you'd think the Miami Marlins would probably be the most protected team out there, knowing full well they were in an area that tends, was just seeing a spike, so trying to be more protective. And instead, they're the first team that goes out. So it's really kind of consistent with how it's going with Miami-Dade, unfortunately.
Florida,
Unfortunately. So
Like I said, the little head took over.
Exactly. So
if that's what actually happened, I mean, we don't know that that's what happened, but terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
Anyway,
terrible.
So so NBA has gone back. What's your thoughts? Have you guys watched any games?
I actually haven't. I mean, I've
No.
seen like all the things with fake people in the stands and piped in fan noise, so it doesn't look like a pickup game or something. But I haven't watched the game yet, though.
So
I haven't watched it.
like-
I just saw a few snippets of it. I want to see what it looked like, and seeing those like the fake people in the stands and the banners in the background and the sound effects. I thought that was rather interesting. I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't feel drawn to it. I just feel like, I'd rather just hear about it in the news or something. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way.
It's not the same
mean,
reaction as people being there, kind of thing. I don't know.
said
Is
it
that
feels like a
maintained
pickup
for
game.
that?
Feels like a pickup
Right?
game.
Or an exhibition.
It doesn't really feel like
Yeah.
it's getting
It's
ready
like,
for the actual playoffs.
well, I mean, it's understandable. You guys don't have any fucking teams in there. I have the Lakers, luckily for me, so it matters more. Yeah, it matters more. If you have no real alliance to anyone, first off, Mike doesn't even have a team, so let's be clear there. At least Len likes the Cavaliers.
They're true.
So if they were playing well, which they haven't for the last 2 years now that LeBron's left, then maybe they'd be in it, but they're not. And Mike, you have no allegiance to anyone, although you didn't even know the Warriors weren't even making the playoffs. So that pretty much speaks to your.
I've never been a Warriors fan, so I've always been a San Antonio fan. If you listen,
Yeah.
Okay, but you didn't even know San Antonio was in it until I told you.
Right. That's why I was asking who was in it last time, and you said I said San Antonio was the first.
That's
team.
my point.
They're not in it. So I just went with the Lakers.
You just don't care.
Exactly. I don't.
Mike care about something.
I'm trying.
You gotta care about
trying to be a little bit more compassionate with it, but it didn't draw to me. I'm sorry, guys. I just.
So anyway, whatever. The point is that he didn't pay attention. Oh wow, look at that.
Dicks.
He does this rock impression all the time. Anyway, one of the big things obviously that happened within the games for the first one on Friday night was everybody, all the players, coaches, refs, everyone pretty much at the national anthem all took a knee, right, in solidarity.
Not all of them.
I'm talking about the first night. I'm not talking about the other night.
Sorry.
You jump the gun every time we talk about shit. All right.
You talk out of your ass. Just what it is.
So anyway, moving on.
Please proceed.
I am. So
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you anymore. I'm sorry.
Come on.
Poor people won't even be able to hear what's going on. You fucking loud bastard. Anyway,
What's your fucking mouth?
You're right. You know what? I'm going to clean it up right now. No more cursing for a minute. So that being said, Black Lives Matter shirts they were all wearing, right? They were all kneeling, which was good. Everybody did it. Didn't matter. Everybody had it, which was interesting. And you don't know this, Mike. Maybe you do, Len. Some of the players on the back of their jersey, one of the agreements before going back into this sort of season return was that the players could put a name other than their own on their jersey in the back, right? So it could say anything. It could say peace. It could say, help each other. It could say Breonna Taylor. It could say whatever they want. It could say it could say their own name too, right? Some players thought this was great. Others, thought maybe more could be done because they were kind of limited to what they could suggest. But I mean, at least they're trying to continue to bring awareness through this. And now, so that was great to see, and that continued. But now to Len's point, yesterday, your coach, Popovich, right? And Becky Hammond of the San Antonio Spurs, and there were a couple other teams that did this too. Not everybody, like Len said, kneeled. Now, they had the Black Lives Matter shirts on, and some people may start ripping into the fact that those who didn't kneel. But I know DeMar DeRozan already came out and supported Pop and said, "Look, you all know as well as anyone that he's the most vocal person out there about yelling about Trump, all this shit." But he was in the Air Force. He served in the Air Force. He went to Air Force Academy, and so for him, it's not so much about needing to kneel to prove his point. It's more, just how he is. That's his personal choice.
It's what it means to him. I mean, and that's like one of the most fucked up things is that people look. I would stand, and just because what the flag means to me is different. I mean, I don't see people kneeling as being disrespectful because that's not their intent. They're also doing kneeling. It's like if they were flipping off the flag or heckling or something inappropriate, then I can understand it being disrespectful and so on.
Rituals.
Yeah, I mean, but what I mean is that it's an individual response.
It's more of an
how
individual preference when it's going to.
Yeah, like dating a trans woman.
Yeah, so it's not the teams, right? In the sense, you could have 24 people sit or kneel, and the 25th is standing. And so a couple of players did that yesterday. I don't know about today. I know there's been games on since this morning, but and the Lakers play at 5:30. By the way, for all those interested who are watching right now,
nobody gives a fuck.
Mike, you should take a look because that's the team that's going to win it. So at least you can, feel you've been part of it.
Nobody fucking cares.
Everybody cares. Everybody cares.
I'll make a point to do that.
Yeah. Only person who doesn't care is Len.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm the only one who doesn't care about the Lakers. Only person.
Only Len doesn't care.
Of the fucking three of us right now, you're the only one who doesn't care.
Mike doesn't care.
Sure he does. He said he picked the Lakers last time.
Because you're
stick to it, Mike. Stick to it.
Because he thinks you're going to fucking win doesn't mean that he's fucking for them.
Fucking stupid.
I'll be honest with you. I'll watch it.
Did you hit your head?
I'm more about execution. I'm more about execution.
Execution? You want to kill people? What the fuck's wrong with you, dude?
I know. Seriously.
I want to kill this fucking show. This guy's a fucking
wow. All right.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the one in the middle, dude. I don't know.
But again, seriously, it's like a rock in a hard place, right? And then that's me right there.
That's what she said.
Boom. All right. Nicely done. Anyway, so that's basketball, right? That's been going on. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes because I will say this. As I said with the MLB, they're already seeing teams literally fucking get COVID across the board. So NHL started today as well, and they're a bubble set up as well, right? So they're all on a bubble. Same with NBA. And so far, no.
But MLB's not a bubble, right?
No, it's not, which actually is the question for the NFL. So the NFL is definitely not going to be a bubble. And that one, I think, is the hardest one to make a bubble anyway. You have at least 70 people throughout the whole team. That includes coaches, players, and whatnot at any time, right?
Yeah.
Per team. Okay. You're talking about 32 teams, right? Isn't it 32 teams now?
Yeah.
I'm always trying to remember the number, but so that's a ridiculous amount of people. There's no one location you can go to do a bubble. So the bubble is just not possible there. So it's going to be interesting to see since baseball is not doing a bubble. They've already had issues with people popping up with COVID. And
but those people are also fucking stupid. I mean, we know that they
not all of them. Yeah, but some are just getting it based on
what I mean
another team. Like the
What is the screening process? Don't they have a strict screening process to get that done? So
I don't know about baseball. Football, we definitely know does because
they've already been doing it.
Yeah, they've got all the money. So all the money they get from TV rights, there's no way they can't afford it. And basketball is a good example. They do screening all the time. So NFL is probably going to follow that same rule.
Yeah.
But
they're doing it like every other day or some shit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
During training. So yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. They should be checking on that, right? Regardless where they are. I mean, if it's supposed to be airborne, they should be checking into that, regardless of that, wherever location they're resting in or staying in. I don't understand why they don't have that, doing that for any other sport, especially if they're going to broadcast them. Doesn't make sense that they shouldn't be.
You know when they have to take the oxygen mask, they're going to put a little Lysol in it to make sure that we breathe it in. I mean, hey,
it's why not? Yeah, why not?
Breathe in a little Lysol.
Well, I mean, it's a good point, right?
99.9%, right?
Well, if you think about it from this perspective too, to your point, even though you're kidding, but the reality is there is some truth to that because think about it. For basketball, they are in a bubble, so they're protected. No one from the outside comes in. They're controlled on who they see. And so when they play together, they're not worried about the other team suddenly giving them COVID of any kind. That's not true when you go to the NFL. That's going to be hard. And same with college football, really, any of these, right? It's the same process. Like all these college football conferences have decided we're going to get rid of non-conference. We're just going to keep it within our conference. Why? What the fuck does that matter? It's not going to protect you anymore. Yeah.
But they don't have to worry because they're college kids. They're going to follow directions and not do anything wrong.
Correct. Not at all. They're
not
all
at all.
good. All good.
Especially college football playing men. They're going to be appropriate, not do anything, that they shouldn't do.
Kids. They're college kids. No one in college ever really sticks to the rules. That's just how it is. It's a part of college.
No one sticks to the rules, period. It doesn't matter what age.
Well, nowadays, nobody fucking does.
People walk around taking off their masks and screaming, yelling, and bitching about that shit. Crazy.
Dude, by the way, this morning, right, I take my dog for a walk. I'm going to sidestep a little bit here on that because of your point. I take my dog for a walk to a park and I see like 20 kids, right, all stretching and doing whatever it is they're working for, start running, and they're running as a pack, no mask, nothing. I'm like, holy shit. And then they wonder why we continue to go up across the country. Shit like that.
It's just one of those typical things where everybody's like yelling. Nobody's following directions yet. You see people constantly not following directions.
And right. And it's like they're feeling that it's all of a sudden like, we don't have to do all this shit.
No. It's how individual Americans are. They don't feel no. Mike and JD, you guys need to follow directions, but you know what? I'm safe. I don't need to really worry about it. That's what it is. Everybody points the finger and makes sure that everybody else has to do it, and they want you to fucking do it. But I'm the exception. I'm not at fault. No. I can speed. I can do all this other stuff because I know I'm safe.
Right.
And that's where people are going. That's how Americans are. That's the reason why it doesn't matter if it was Trump, Obama, or whoever was president. Americans weren't ever going to follow directions. We were always going to see this. Look, if you want to say that, we could have saw a decrease with a different president or whatever, I'm sorry, I don't fucking believe it.
Yeah, people do stupid shit because they're going to feel that entitlement, right? And that's something we talked about. And if they don't feel like doing any shit, then what's going to happen? It's going to come to the point where, do you think martial law will come in? I know we're kind of going away from that, but it's like, people are getting angry. People are causing fights. I mean, I see it all the time in some of my streams where, in my posts where people are complaining, fighting other people, want to fight people because they feel like you're violating my sick space. You're not wearing a mask, threatening employees, staff members, whatever the case may be, right? I mean,
there will never be martial law in this country. If they were to do that, both sides would fucking, for different reasons. Look what happens with all the federal troops that they put into like Portland and everything. Yeah. And then,
and the government is telling them to get out.
Right. But what I mean is look at what's happening. There's not going to be martial law. I can't even imagine how bad it would have to be. This isn't that bad,
so to your point, right? So that's also a part of, like, I read something recently where someone was saying this could be this is trending towards not a civil war in the sense of what happened before, right? Obviously back during the 1800s, but like this could be the third phase of the American change, right? Because obviously initially founded as a country was the first step. The Civil War was sort of that second step of really changing who we are. Yeah. And now this could be sort of that third evolution in a sense of who we are by trying to get more racial justice, equality, and so forth on that end based on protests and things going on. And that's possible. That could very well be the case. Like I said, there have been things in the past.
It's already happening.
Yeah, people have seen historically there have been changes, but they've always been minimal, right? Even when Martin Luther King and back during the 60s, all the riots, trying to look for equality, they got some of it. In certain ways they did. They got rid of the concept of segregation, although segregation happens still today in schools, not directly, but indirectly, right? And that comes back to like private schools they're not segregated, but because lower income families can't access it, it becomes I'm just saying the term.
But also school districts are based upon where you live. So your neighborhood. Yeah. So if you're in a poor neighborhood, you may not, and it's not just funding for schools. JD and I sent our kids to private school. We were lucky enough to be able to do that. But the biggest difference between private schools on the average have way less money spent per child than public schools do. I know with the elementary school, public schools spend twice as much than private schools do per child. The biggest difference in it is the parent interaction, the parent involvement with the kids. And because when you look at a private schools, it's if you have 35 kids in the class, you have like 32 parents or kids' parents heavily involved in their child's education, like directly involved. Yeah. And I think in public school you don't see that. And I think when you go into areas that have more affluence, maybe the mom's at home or whatever, they have that ability to, you're going to have these parents that are more active. And I think that's where the kids really benefit from it. Where when you're in poor areas where you have both parents working or just, there may not be as involved, it makes it harder. So there is, even though it's not segregation, it's still, there's that barrier that a lot of these kids in poor areas have to overcome.
Yeah. Well, no,
It's
you're right.
important because it's the money that's being invested into it. That's why, right?
Yeah.
I'm throwing this much money into it. There's no choice, right? You're going to
Right.
get more
Well, so
involved.
that's where some of the defund the police comments come in, right?
Right.
And I love how we've kind of curtailed out of sports into this, but the point is that the defund police plan is not so much about killing the police police department as a whole, although some would like it, sure. But that's not realistic. The reality is, though, take a lot of the money that they put in for funding for shit that they shouldn't really even be dealing with, that the cops shouldn't be managing, and refund that into local programs, help other programs back into schools, low income schools, things like that that can help revitalize some of that. That's where the ask is really like, stop giving them money for shit that, they don't need, and that they shouldn't even be focused on, like certain things the cops shouldn't be going in for.
But part of it is, or a big issue is, and a lot of people have said this, is they got to get away from the name defund the police. I mean, has this major negative connotation. It makes people think that when they say that they're talking about disbanding the police, which we all know is not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. There's no way.
Yeah, but to JD's point, it's like there has to be a better way of saying it, because all it's doing is creating this bigger and bigger divide by them saying that. It's like the whole thing with Black Lives Matters or All Lives and Blue Line. You know what? Everybody's right. I mean, but it's just that when somebody says it becomes a lightning rod, because people have either very positive or very negative connotation when they hear it. But I think defund police right now is you have both extremes, yelling about it. You have people, like JD said, you have people who actually believe it means to just not fund them at all. And then but you have people in these poor areas that are saying, fuck no, we need the police.
Exactly. Right.
Just scale it back.
There has to be that middle spot.
There has to be a middle. There has to be a balance with that. There's no way you can do that. I mean, there's the people who cry shame or cry foul about, something's happening to them, right? This, police brutality, whatever the case may be. But then if you flip the side, when the first thing happens, when something shit happens to you, the first people you call is 911. You call the cops. Right. You call for this, right? So you have to have that balance. You're right. It's never going to go away, but I mean, it's going to come to the area, right? Who's doing the funding, and what's more practical for that area, right? Where did they see the better fit? Unfortunately, it's going to come down to the education, right? Who can fund the education more? In public schools, they can't be, so let's not focus on that. It's private schools; those are being funded by the parents, like you said. Then we don't have to worry about that either. So it's you pick your own poison, the one that's funded or not, right? So let's put the money somewhere else, right? Let's let the parents decide for the kids, not us. Let's focus on the city safety. That's the reality, though. That's what
I don't disagree with you. I just don't think that people will like the outcome of it, because most people won't get involved. I mean, think about it. How many people actually vote?
The problem, though, and everyone's looking to get pleased, and you can't do that, right? No matter what we do, right? You can't please everyone. You got to serve what's the best interest for your country, for your state, for your city, for your community. You got to serve the best interest, and not everyone's going to like it. It's the same thing with the presidency, right? I mean, look at the presidency. Some of them don't like him, some of them do. All right, we can't serve everyone, we can't please everyone, but we got to find out what's the best way to serve what's being asked of the people, or what's being needed to serve for the people, right? But
you just got to come down to the fundamental requirements. I mean, we've talked about this plenty of times in the past, and it's the same thing every time in my mind. Is that you have to? You're right. We can't change. No one. Anybody thinks that 7 billion people are ever going to get on the same page is kidding themselves. Right. We all know that's just not going to happen. It's just personalities, perspective, it's perception, all these things that kind of tie in. But we should be able to at least go down to like some common core requirements that we should all agree on. We're not asking for total, support, but at least you should be able to get like 80% or more. Like people should be able to have an opportunity to succeed, right? Have an opportunity to be given full rights, equal rights on that side. And that's not happening. People should be ideally perceived the same way, regardless of color. Now, we know that's not the case, but that's what we should be trying to get to, right? Is that I don't care if you're white, black, Filipino, I don't know why I said specifically Filipino. It's probably because Mike's Filipino.
Wait, Filipino?
Asian, whatever. South Pacific. Actually, I think that's what they call Filipinos now, South Pacific. It's not even Asian, if I remember correctly.
Right. Anyway, there's conversations about that.
Yeah. Oh, you don't know, Mike. Just stop.
Yeah, you're from Germany.
Anyway,
you're German. So moving on. But the point is that those common elements, right? So we just need to know what those are. The biggest thing is just getting rid of those perceptions and those things that tend to make, to points where if you see someone dressed a certain way, or, like a white guy who looks all fucked up, long, scraggly hair and shit, and like has some baggy clothes on or some shit like that, you might think, and he's super skinny, all right, that's a druggie, right? Something around those lines, just based on how they look. Same with anybody who wears baggy clothes. Like at this point, anybody who, like, for a lot of inner cities, you see where the African-American male, and this was a good point. One, I remember seeing in an interview, one guy had said that if he walks around with his family, he's not looked at any differently. He's with his family, it's fine. He's got his wife and his daughter, he's good. Maybe he walks around by himself, if he's not wearing a suit and he's wearing just whatever, regular jeans, a jacket of any kind, suddenly people look and go, hey, what's this guy going to? Right. And it's an unfortunate perception that people have built this based on, and this is something that's been brought up too.
Okay, but
right? TV shows as well. Cop shows.
But the thing is, I mean,
it's not whether. So I know you're going to go.
I mean, you have to look at the full context.
Perception, right? It's unfortunate. It's what's being taught as an
perception is based on what they've shown.
Wait. We all grew up by San Francisco, right? I mean, there is a reality.
We all grew up by there, but yes,
sure. In the Bay Area, fine, whatever. But what I mean is that, I mean, it's about looking at a person as a whole, how they carry themselves and everything, not just as their color. And I think that's the thing that people focus on. But I mean, the hard part is so what? Then what would you tell your kids then when they go into an area that they're not aware of? If they see somebody acting a certain way. I mean, how do we teach our kids to also be aware of their surroundings? I mean, there's a whole thing of being, street smart, being aware of things, and where. The question is then, how are you identifying that area, right? Are you identifying it by a culture, or by an individual, or by ethnicity or race? That's the problem, right? So if you say, if I go to an area like that's a bad neighborhood because these people do these things, right? You can be caught for these things. But if you identify them by specifics, then you're pinpointing it. You narrow it down to something more specific. That's what they're going to narrow down to, right? But if you just say specifically, oh, this is a bad neighborhood because people here do bad things, that's it. End of question. And whatever. If you say they could a black neighborhood, then
or it's a white neighborhood, like you said, or an Asian neighborhood, right? Whatever the case may be, you identified it more and you categorized it. Now people are going to look at it and they're going to put that in a reference in my memory banks. Okay, because of this, I categorize with this. They're never going to get taught that, and that's going to carry them forever until someone changes that.
And that's where a lot of it also comes down to, thanks to today's access to media more and more. Right, you start to associate that, because whether something is truly happening and it was a bad situation, whether it's gang fire happening in a certain location, or hit and runs or shit like that. Depending on where they show it all the time, and this is why I always have the problem with the news, everything they show is generally bad, right? They make it seem like the only thing we have going on in this world is the worst things possible.
Exactly.
Nothing good ever happens. And part of it is because that's what sells. People only care about that shit. Like people who watch reality TV, they want to see people get fucked up. That's the beauty of train wrecks, right?
Yeah. They want that train wreck.
That's why people love Cops when it first came out as a TV show.
Oh my God, that was a
funny shit to watch. And you'd see white people in trailer parks and they'd call them trailer park trash, and you wouldn't be right. But again, it was a perception that started to develop on that. And people love that shit. People love to see people get screwed up. And so media knows this. They know what sells. The news knows what sells. And they're not going to show you. They'll show you, of course, one or two good, feel-good stories.
But you ever notice that the feel-good ones are always like a special segment?
Yeah, they're always
like, oh, hey, wait. Something actually could happen. We have to make a whole special thing about it.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I'm not saying the media is the only person at fault here. I'm just saying what the media does is it helps sort of continue the trend for those who have this incorrect perception. This helps sort of strengthen that resolve around that when it may not be true. Again, context, right? You have to have the full context, which they never give you. It's even with sound bites. That's the best thing about sound bites. You never hear the full concept of the sound bite. You only hear that one snippet which they say, well, he said this. Yeah, but what about the rest? Right. And so, and that's a challenge. And that's a challenge that's been around for decades, centuries, whatever. I mean, that's been around since the beginning of time. Certain groups, tribes, at the beginning to civilizations have had opinions about different civilizations based on their perception or what they thought of them. Again, when the, Europeans and the Spain came over to the New World, they started
dumbass.
Yeah, I know. I said that, and I fucking just kept going. All right, whatever, dick. But the point is, Portuguese, Spain, and then Europe. So,
Wow.
Keep going. You're doing good.
I don't know. I'm rolling with it right now.
Because they weren't pure white, he didn't label them as fucking.
Apparently, that's kind of where I was going. Unbeknownst to me, I
I'm
apologize.
hard to change.
Apparently, deep down aggression right there. Because I'm Irish. I only think of Ireland and England as like Europe for some reason. Oh, and don't forget my Germans. But the point is that they came over and they saw Indians, Native Americans, whoever it was, and they're looking at them like, well, these guys they don't have guns, they don't have anything, they're so simple, they don't really understand what we're doing. Like,
they're not Christian.
Yeah, religion. We don't even need to get into religion, right?
Yeah.
But the point is that it's perception. That perception continued through generations. Again, as the U.S. was growing and they were starting to move west, they continued to take out the Indians instead of trying to figure out ways to help support them. A lot of times they were mostly pushing them out because they wanted the land, growth, expansion, all the other bullshit. That's the other thing about humanity. We love expansion. We can't look at people get rich. They buy fucking multiple homes. Why? Do they need them? No. They still buy them though.
Yeah.
You gotta have more. And that's humanity. Humanity's all about having more. So anyway, not to continue down this too long, but yeah, there's a lot of perception things that need to go on. Anyway,
come on. Come on.
Yeah.
Get to the fucking point.
Wow. So going on.
Hear himself talk.
Oh, yeah. Of course you are. Going on. I'm gonna take a quick nap. Okay, hold on.
There you go.
Okay. Anyway,
wrap it up.
Let's jump into your. Let's go into your subject, Len. Your favorite guy, your president, Mr. Trump, the boy you selected personally. Hand in hand.
Wow. No.
So one of the big.
Wait. No, I'm going to make it clear right now. No, I did not vote for Trump. I would never vote for Trump. No. I did.
You could just say no. If you want to drive off Trump supporters, then that's the best way to go about it.
Oh God, they're both fucking so sensitive. Then I tell people I'm not voting for Biden either because Tweedledee and Tweedle fucking dumb. Seriously, I thought fucking Clinton and Trump was bad. They fucking made it even worse. How in the fuck out of all the people did they pick Biden? Seriously, okay, fuckity fuck. Happy Mike.
All right.
But how did they fucking come to Biden?
So my point is this, Mike. We'll let Len just kind of get drunk or some shit. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so
water.
Yeah, whatever. We don't know if that's water. If you fucking vodka, you know? Anyway, so this week he made a comment, and this is one of the things that have popped up recently as a concern with him specifically. Was he made a comment in a tweet, something to the effect of, and I don't have the exact tweet in front of me, but basically he alluded to the fact like mail-in voting is going to be fraudulent. This is why we should postpone. This is why we need to let people vote, which means maybe we delay maybe the election gets delayed with a question mark or something along those lines. Basically, he's hinting that we should delay the election. Now, first off, the president has no capabilities of doing that, so constitutionally he can't do shit. Second of all, both parties of Congress quickly came out and said, no, it's not being delayed because really Congress is the only one who can mandate it not to change. And he's been saying this all along because here's what he's trying to do. And you guys can counter this or not. I don't give a shit. But the point is
wow. You fucking just say it.
They're pretty pointless. All right.
Damn. Whatever you got to say, go ahead. But the point is he basically has been planting this seed since about a year ago. That the election is going to be, he knows he's going to lose. So he's trying to plant the seed.
If it wasn't for COVID, he would have won easily, period.
No, totally disagree. Totally disagree.
How?
We've already talked about this. We've already talked about this. You're an
idiot. No, fuck you.
You have no balance.
No, let's hear this. Let's hear this.
Wait.
He lost. Okay. No. Hold on.
Let me tell you. If it wasn't for COVID, he would have won.
No, he wouldn't have.
How?
First off, actually, he hasn't even lost it, by the way. He hasn't lost it, by the way.
He was already winning. Look.
Go ahead, Mike.
He was already hanging with all of these candidates from the Democrats were fucking just putting out. They weren't really blowing him away. The economy was going great. I mean, he was going to fucking win again. I'm sorry. I know people don't want to hear that. Stop shaking your fucking head. Seriously. He was going to win if it wasn't for COVID. COVID is the only thing that is going to keep him from not winning.
Totally
the economy was going.
The economy's going well. I'm not going to disagree with you on that part, and he's going to take claim for that one as well. We all know that. But again,
all presidents do that.
Yeah, of course they do. Anyway, Mike, you got some thoughts? I'm going to stop talking. Let Mike throw his thoughts.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
Maybe that's what I'm
Go ahead.
saying.
I want to know, like, my point of view is because Len said he wasn't going to win. The only reason why he was going to win without COVID, right? So, the factors behind that is that, what would make the difference with or without COVID? Why is that the leading factor why he was going to win or not?
No, I'm saying the only reason why he'll most likely lose in November is because of what happened in the economy and how he's handled COVID.
What about Black Lives Matter? You don't think that's making a stance of getting more people to vote? Because let's think about this. Clinton lost. Clinton lost. The Democrats did not come out. She did not get the same support.
True. That's very true.
That's why Trump won. He should have lost. Fuck, he knew he should have lost because he wasn't even prepared for a speech when he won because he thought he would lose as well. And so he's not even increased his popularity amongst anyone outside of the Republican base who have now lost faith. To your point with COVID being part of it, because we obviously know a guy, whose name we will not say, we'll just call him Stifler. So everybody knows. But he is also one who is a staunch Republican, but even he said because he's such a germaphobe, he actually does not like Trump because Trump is basically so they've lost some people there. But again, Black Lives Matter. Now this comes to Len's point early on in another podcast. Like, would this have even kicked off to this scale? I think some of it would have still been there to this scale, at least, if it wasn't for the fact that everybody was stuck at home and had nothing else to think about at that point in time. Yeah. So this helps sort of spur that on. Maybe, I don't know. But my point is this: first off, we don't even know where the election is going to end anyway, because it's still just the beginning of August now. Yeah. But to your point about COVID, I disagree. I have always said that Clinton should have easily won that. She won the popular vote, which I don't give so much shit about that, because to me, it's all about what you win on the electoral college, because that's more for states, and people disagree with that all they want. I don't care. I have a different opinion on that one. But the point, because we are a republic, people, we're not a fucking democracy. So let's be clear.
We also have to get rid of the Senate. If you actually believe that, then we have to get rid of the Senate as well. Because why should Rhode Island have 2 senators in California? Because the Senate is usually more powerful in terms of what they do than the House of Representatives.
Yeah, they can block shit off. Yeah. But I mean, so his handling of other things up until this date, the Russian probes, the hacking, his lying, his now getting his own former lawyer or supporter out of any, what's it called? Basically, he set him free. Anyway, when it was a known guilty guy. I mean, again, Trump would have done this shit regardless of COVID. My point is, COVID is not what's going to keep him from winning. What's going to keep him from winning is himself. It's 4 years of the same shit, and considering, you can disagree.
I know.
But I think I have more basis for truth than you do, because numbers prior to that election with Trump would have shown that if Biden gets everybody to come out, then there's no way Trump wins.
And you know what? The thing that kills me about Biden, he is far worse for the black community than Trump has ever been.
How so? Be clear.
I
don't know. I'm asking you, so be clear.
Why don't you shut the fuck up and let me finish?
No, I don't know. I'm asking you.
I'd like to hear this.
You actually did know that he did not want integration in his own neighborhood in the 70s, right? Because
correct.
He didn't want
all of his background in the past.
But also the biggest one is that the major increase in incarceration, 3 strike, and all this stuff, he was a major proponent for.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of why a big reason why blacks have always had a hard time in terms of moving forward as a community is because of incarceration rate. Okay, yes, they do the crime as well, but also the fact that we've only gotten progressively harsher and harsher with the penalties, even for crimes that shouldn't have like a life sentence, for some of the things that happen, right? But Biden is a major proponent for that. He is a big reason why there's this, industrial complex for privatized jails. He is huge for that. I mean, a lot of the things that all these Black Lives Matters people are saying, a lot of the things that they're against, the militarization of the police, all of that stuff, how harsh they are, Biden is a major proponent for all that shit. Yeah, and so the point is that, and then even better is he's going to have,
by the way,
but he's going to have Amelia Harris as his running mate, and how she was. No, I'm just saying, and then you're going to bring her in, and after when she was DA of San Francisco, how bad she was.
Of course, but that's hypothetical, right? Because right now, supposedly Harris isn't even the main choice for him from the latest reports, right? So, but here's where I'll contradict you. Now, I don't necessarily think the black community is excited about Biden either, just because as a whole, they're just not excited about him. He's just not. Even though he was Obama's VP, which is where the counterpoint comes to your comment, by the way, of his history. And I agree with you. Everything you said is correct. People can look it up and find out how he voted, what he structured and set up. And it was not beneficial to the black community by any means.
Right.
But again, they'll say, well, then why did Obama choose him? Right. So why did Obama pick him?
The opposite of Obama. That's why. If you think about it, the running mate is. Of
course,
I don't meant to be they're meant to be a compliment for the president.
Political value by having that VP. That's all it is. Is how do they help you?
Right.
Correct. I agree. So that's why I don't think Kamala Harris would help him and why she won't be picked.
Yeah,
the points you just outlined. But regardless, whether or not Biden's good or not is irrelevant at this point. The point is most people are voting for Trump to get out because across the world, globally, he's made us look like selfish pieces of shit.
Right.
And
we are.
Mostly, well,
we are.
It's true.
The truth has come out, right?
Yeah.
No, right.
But he's the peak of the worst shit, if you want to think of it from that standpoint.
True.
And his views don't mark any of our three views, right? So what he says doesn't match what I say. The other thing is he said at the beginning when he was originally running for president, I will make Mexico pay for this wall. Who's paid for the wall? I mean, so there's simple shit like that you can throw out there. And where it hurts, and this is my point about why he would struggle, is because Republicans in middle America who are on their farms and are still struggling, many of them, even before COVID, were already starting to second guess why they selected a man who said he could do this and didn't. So there were plenty of indicators going in. I agree as poll numbers looked up, but poll numbers don't mean shit because going into the last election, he was not going to win at all. And even the pollsters were shocked that they got it all wrong. So shit changes over time. But my point is he's done so much negativity. He's a one and done. It's as simple as that. If George Bush Sr. could say no new taxes and then raise his taxes and he lost, which I still think Perot cost him that, but the third party candidate actually did.
It didn't matter.
Well, it did. Unfortunately, it cost him because it allowed a third party to actually get in there.
You're contradicting yourself. That's my job.
No, not really. I'm throwing in a third party. You have no third party. So, but the point is that he's out. He's gone. The only way he'll screw this up, or he won't lose, is if Biden, and with already Biden's history, nothing's going to change that, unless he does something that's so egregious and does something that just everybody says, "Fuck that! This guy's just crazy shit."
Yeah,
he's not going to lose.
What about all by him sniffing little children's heads and all that type of stuff?
Doesn't matter. It's the lesser of two evils. The lesser of two evils. It's how it's being looked at. It's not being looked at what's best for us. It's the lesser of two evils.
And I'm going to say one other thing to the people who say that, who agree with you. And there are a lot of people who don't disagree with you. They're like diehard that they don't give a fuck what Biden does. They're voting for him because he's not versus Trump. Because what I get the most is the people that say, if you vote third party, you're anti-American. Fuck you. I'm going to say that honestly, I vote for who I want to vote for. I'm not voting. I refuse to vote against somebody. I'm not voting for Biden just because I want Trump out. I want the right candidate in, and I'm not going to. The only wasted vote is one that you don't fully believe in, and I've said that a million times. And I fucking hate the people who are putting it out there. They did the same thing with Trump. Like, oh, I don't care. I don't want Clinton in office. And a lot of people who voted for Trump, that's why they did it. So we've had 2 elections in a row where we're not fucking voting for somebody as much as it is like, fuck that. I do not want that person there. And to me, that's a waste of vote. The idea that, oh, well, this election is too important. I've heard that because I've been voting for third party for 20 years now, is that I've heard that every fucking election, is the same thing. Oh, no, this one's too important. You can't do that. It's a waste of vote. Fuck you.
Every election is life-changing. You can go back to videos from the 60s, the 50s, and there's always the same concept. Yeah. This is the most
why can't we get away from two-party? Because, jackass, you vote for it. It's like term limits. The people who forcefully say that we have to do term limits. No. Term limits are dumb. You want to know why? It shows a complete breakdown of democracy if we need term limits. Because I can vote for JD. For president, I can write his fucking name in.
Well, there are no term limits in the Congress.
No. I'm just saying. Everybody always brings up term limits.
Yeah, but
when it comes to Congress, I'm just saying. I think it shows a breakdown of democracy when we have to rely on term limits to think about it. All these people who are saying that, well, do they want to get rid of like their favorite? But I don't want to get rid of my favorite senator. They only bring it up because they hear about Mitch McConnell or some jackass that they don't like. And then, we got to get him out. And, we should do term limits. They don't belong there. Oh, but I like Bernie Sanders. Oh, well, he should stay, though. That's why there's a problem with term limits. It's like, you don't need a fucking vote for them. You don't need to vote Democrat or Republican. It's not in the Constitution that we have to be a two-party system. We're that way because people are fucking lazy and they don't. Sorry. Okay, I'm done.
Got it. Okay. I would say this, just to end this one and together. To your point, you shouldn't vote for someone because people tell you if you don't vote for them, you're a piece of shit. And they don't say piece of shit, but you know what I mean. Well, of course, there's always those. Yes. I'm not talking about the extremists. There's extremists on both sides. We know that.
Yeah.
But the reality is that here's where it matters most. And this is something I've talked to family about in the past. It's less about who you vote for. It's the fact that if you don't vote, for those people who in their mind go, my one vote won't matter. A million people do that. That's a million votes. That million votes now matters. And so too often that's actually the case is people go, well, they're going to win. Right. So I'm not going to vote. And then they lose. Like I bet you for Hillary Clinton, a lot of Democrats were like, she'll win because it did. It looked like she should win. They don't vote. Then all of a sudden she loses and they're like shocked. And it's like, well, it's turnout. And that's the piece. Get out and vote. Vote for whoever you want. Get out there and vote. And if you don't vote, then you're
and don't complain about it and don't bitch about it.
Yeah, you can't bitch if you don't vote. Even
if you live in California and let's say you are a Republican in California, you should still vote. Look, your candidate's not going to win if you vote, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't vote because it's just the principle of the matter, Smokey. You should fucking vote.
Fucking stupid.
But okay, the one thing I do want to say is that I really want to see a debate between those two. It's going to be fucking this.
Well, it's going to have to be through Zoom.
I'm just saying though. See those two fucking idiots. I mean, Biden can't put a coherent sentence together, and Trump just goes fucking off even on tangents more than I do. I mean, it's gonna be
like now
pathetic, always. But it's going to
be very entertaining. I think it's going to be entertaining,
like a Kardashian episode.
There you go. By the way, you know who Biden looks like when he does the squint eye, right? He looks like Walter from Jeff Dunham. So Jeff Dunham, the comedian who does ventriloquism, he has a traveling show, very popular, and he has his dummies, and one of them's an old guy named Walter. And he's always got the squinty eyes. I swear to God, you can find a picture of Biden and put him next to it. It looks like, kind of, but not so much. Not so much.
That's what I owe you. I
Walter.
I always want to hear him talk. Let me tell you something. I want to hear him say that once. You know what?
We gotta find a way to put that together. We gotta find a way.
If he says that, I'll vote for him.
You'd have to get that. Yeah, if you can find a spot where he does a quick talk like that and you put the audio over it, then it would look like it. You go, oh my God, that's him.
I would honestly I might vote for him. Yeah.
Anyway, Mike, what's your thoughts? I mean, in reality, what are your thoughts about how it's going to go? And do you even have who are you? I guess we never asked each other who are we leaning towards. And I'll tell you this: I don't know. I'm definitely not leaning towards Trump. That's a fact. And I'm not leaning towards Biden. But I am trying to see who else is out there. Yeah. Because I'll make the best choice I feel. Yeah, so
Libertarian candidate again.
Got it. What about you, Mike?
100% behind her.
What about you, Mike? What about you, Mike?
Yeah, just not feeling both. That's the thing.
Can you start talking?
Yeah. I'm just not feeling both of them. It's just the confidence level that we have, right? It's unfortunate because that's what we have to go with, and that's what we have to offer, right? And it's so unfortunate that we're in a situation right now with COVID and everything that's going on. It's like you're gonna end up in a situation where it's either bad shit or worse shit, right? And you have to depend which one's gonna be that person that day. And unfortunately for me, I just feel like, oh fuck. I feel like whichever direction we go, we're just going to end up eating it up for another 3-4 years, right? It's like, oh fuck, this is going to suck, right?
You know what the worst part is, Mike?
It's like really picking your poison. And your vote does matter, right? It's going to come down to which poison do I want to take for the next 4 years?
Mike, you can't even write yourself in.
What?
You can't even write yourself in. You can't. You can't put your own name in because you weren't born
I
here.
can't. I can't. We just need something else. I mean, can you imagine?
You know what? I'm just gonna write JD's name in. How about we do that?
Thank you. Let's all make the right choice and vote for me.
Let's
I'll vote for him. I sure as hell won't vote for myself.
Why not?
Seriously.
Interestingly enough, obviously when we were younger, I always kid around and go, if I become president, I'll put Len as Secretary of Defense. Because with that anger, you just point him in a direction, boom, and he'll take care of it for you.
Like, why did you attack them?
Whole country dead. One button. Click.
Why did you attack Ireland? Because JD pissed me off. We invaded him. I mean, fuck. I don't know.
Yeah, we had to remove Len today because he decided
to kill a whole country.
Took on a country
just because he wanted to prove a point.
Yeah, he just wanted to show his strength. That's all. Some jock.
Wow.
But anyway, so that's all the fun stuff that's been going on this week, man. Is within the sports world and of course within politics is all along those lines. So, real quick for entertainment, have you guys? Well, I don't know if you do, but do you watch anything on Netflix specifically, like the Umbrella Academy? Ever heard of that?
No.
It's a Netflix series.
Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't.
So I think I mentioned it. I think I might have mentioned it last week. Yeah.
Season 2 was second episode.
Yep. Yeah, I just finished the third episode. But yeah, it's one of those superhero type-ish shows as well. So it's these kids. Well, they were kids, now they're adults, who make up a team, or were supposed to make up a team. They don't anymore, and they all have different abilities. One of them doesn't even know, has been kind of misled to not believe that they have abilities, so to speak. So that's season 1, yeah. Well, it's not that much of a spoiler, but needless to say, it's a great show. If you like it, it's good comedy. It's funny. It's a pretty good storyline, but that just came out this week too.
Because I mean, it doesn't take it. I don't think it takes itself that seriously either.
No,
it's definitely off, but yeah, it's an interesting concept about the powers that they have and like how if it happens to real life people, how they would actually turn out. Like the whole thing, like the X-Men type thing. It always makes it sound like
I was just gonna say, it sounds more of like X-Men in the sense where these people are finding out they have some kind of superpowers or mutation where they're trying to come up together, right?
And then Umbrella Academy is kind of like God, what was
Professor X school, right? Whatever, the mutant school or something like that.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
I mean, it's that concept, but the thing is that the guy who runs it actually adopted these kids. There was this event that happened, and he adopted whatever kids he could have when that event happened. Like it was like these women spontaneously just had babies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, like they weren't pregnant. Like one girl was in the swimming pool. It was, she was flirting with this other 18-year-old, this boy, and all of a sudden she comes out of the pool and she's in labor. But all of these kids were, or not all of these kids, but these kids were adopted by this one billionaire fuckhead. He's pretty far out there, right? I mean, Jay, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it is what it is. It's just like what's it called? Doom Patrol, right? The DC series as well. I don't know if you've seen that, but that's also another one that's in its second season. I haven't seen the second season, but it's the same thing. It's a guy who sort of brought misfits together, and he's kind of a controlling ass who doesn't tell the truth about certain things, leaves out some facts and whatnot, and kind of, I guess, misleads them, right, and takes advantage of them. So this is similar character in Umbrella Academy as far as the guy that runs out there too. So they're both kind of similar in that end. But yeah, it's a great show. If you like comics, oh, and by the way, if you like Transformers, Transformers just dropped a series on Netflix as well, The War for Cybertron. It's actually really cool because it's G1. It's first generation look of the Transformers. So for those who watched it back in the 80s, that's definitely one that's worth checking out. And it's a short 6 episodes because they're doing it based on chapters in a sense, like 3 chapters of 6 episodes each. So they only released the first chapter. So it's pretty interesting. It's going to be a longer term story, but there's that too. Anyway, just wanted to bring those up as something new that's popped up. If you're interested, I know Beyonce just released her thing on Disney Plus for the King. God, I can't remember the name either. I'm forgetting a lot of names nowadays, but that's also a new thing that she did based on, I think, the Lion King soundtrack. I want to say Black is King or something like that is the name. Can't remember the name, but It's another good one that's out there. I've yet to take a look at it. I think it just came out. Black is King. It just came out on Friday. So that's supposed to be really good too. Check that out. Here I am for all the streaming services apparently promoting, and I'm getting no money for it. But speaking of 80s, because I mentioned Transformer, I'm going to ask each of you, what was your favorite 80s cartoon you watched?
G.I. Joe.
Transformers.
Nice.
Transformers was your number 2.
I was a Transformers
G.I.
fan.
Joe. I was always into G.I. Joe.
Bunch of Marines who can't shoot. Nice.
Yeah.
What was your favorite character in G.I. Joe, Len?
Snake Eyes.
Yeah, there you go.
Storm Shadow.
Yeah. Either one of those.
I like Storm Shadow. Yeah.
I actually hardly watched G.I. Joe back in the days for that one. I just didn't really. I mean, I watched a few episodes, but I didn't really care to watch the whole season of it. But
I think I like the toys more than anything.
Yeah.
I love the toys.
By the way, fun fact for everyone listening and watching as well. Back when the three of us worked at a company together, we all dressed up in Halloween as sort of a
I wasn't there yet.
A G.I. Joe theme. You weren't there for that?
No, I was there for the
villains.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Dark Knight. Did you see one?
The Batman villains, yeah.
So anyway, I was Destro, and I went and got a bald cap, put it on,
I remember.
and I painted my whole face silver, basically. And then Mike here was what's his name?
Zartan.
Zartan. There we go.
Yeah, it was
He was
Zartan.
Zartan. So it was great. I mean, there were like 10 of us who all dressed up, both good and bad. Like
No, there was more than 10. I think there was
like
more than 10 because
either way, we
I think
had a good mix between them.
Right. We had a G.I. Joe group, and then we had the Cobra group.
Correct.
I think the Cobra group had almost 10 people, and the G.I. Joe had almost 10 people too. So there was a massive group of us. It was freaking amazing.
Unfortunately, when they did the what's it called? The judging. I mean, we come in, everybody's put all this effort into full on effects, all that, and we lose to 4 guys who want to redo the scene from what's the name of the movie? Do you remember the movie, Mike? I'm talking about
what was that? The Monthly.
I can't. The Full Monty. Full Monty.
I remember it. Full Monty. There we go. Yes. Yeah.
The cop scene where they do the dance and strip. So they did that, and that's what won, which was just bullshit. So I'm just calling that out now. But it's funny when we talk about 80s, thinking about G.I. Joe. It's like we did that.
It was fucking horseshit.
Yeah, it was. It was sad to watch.
Horseshit.
It happens.
Bunch of guys stripping down. It was shit.
Yeah, into basketball shorts, by the way.
You know, speaking of that, I'm still just upset up with your daughter, JD. You know, because Mike, there's a costume that JD and I have talked about since like high school, doing the Blues Brothers.
Yeah, Jake and Elwood,
and I made a comment because I was watching the Blues Brothers about 2-3 weeks ago, JD. And I made a comment about, hey, remember we always talked about doing this, you know, not being, of course, all that serious. And basically, his beautiful, lovely daughter decided to back me down. No, I'm actually being kind of sarcastic because she just basically said, "Aren't you guys a little old for that?" And don't you guys live like 1,000 miles apart? I'm like,
yeah,
thank you. Just smack me down, tell me to shut up, sit in the corner. I appreciate it.
Pretty much.
If she told me to, I actually would, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys see this? Hey, did you guys see this video on YouTube? My brother sent to me. It was pretty hilarious. Is this guy who talked about Star Wars and how their title was off? Oh my god, that shit was
it was actually
hilarious.
Really good. No,
but it was a valid point, though. I thought it was like there's actually some truth behind it. I mean, it kind of made sense.
But let's take it with a grain of salt, considering when the movies were made, the titles didn't exist. So there we go.
Right.
But if you were to retheme them today, you're right.
Yeah,
the titles they did definitely fall more in line with what you would think they would be, than what they are.
But but each one actually worked based on what he said. It was really good.
Yeah. Because like episode 3, which is generally called Revenge of the Sith, he said that's really the Attack of the Clones. Because if you think about it, that's when the clones started attacking the Jedi, right? And so that was that process. And then Return of the Jedi, or New Hope, should be Return of the Jedi because he's technically the first Jedi back.
Right.
So it was actually pretty good. I liked it too. Yeah, I saw that video. I'm like, that's not bad. A good way to turn those in.
Right.
And Empire Strikes Back would be called The Force Awakens because now Luke is really learning about the Force.
Exactly. Right.
Which I thought was good too. But yeah, it's funny because he called. I think the Empire Strikes Back. He pushed into what was it
For the
Force Awakens?
yes.
Right. So the Force Awakens was Empire Strikes Back,
right.
and he called The Last Jedi was actually the Return of the Jedi. He called it Last Jedi because technically that would be considered the Last Jedi at the time.
Yeah.
And
the
then
Last Jedi was the. What did he say? The Last Jedi was again. It was.
Well, all I know is the first
one. The Last Jedi was the New Hope, because it's the.
Oh, true, because Ben dies. Yeah, so
right.
That makes sense. Yeah, but I know the first one he said instead of Phantom Menace was supposed to be Rise of Skywalker because really that's when the Skywalker lineage starts.
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, again, hindsight, it's cool to. It's kind of funny that he did that, but it is pretty good. I do like it for how that works. Now, there's still the rumors going on. I know we've talked about this before. That now Lucas will come back as president of Lucasfilm is the latest rumor. And that what they'll do is they will, and I've listened to another video or podcast that actually talked about this. So again, they're all rumors until anything official ever comes out. It's all just speculation, but he would come back. He'd get basically total control again of Lucasfilm from that standpoint. And they would do a couple things. One rumor is that they'd make another Luke Skywalker movie 10 years after Return of the Jedi to take place first, with most likely Mark Hamill back. If not, then why do that? And they could de-age him or something like that. So I'm sure they could do that because we saw that in Captain Marvel where, what's his name? Nick Fury was brought, they de-aged him. So
they did the same thing in, what do you call it? Avengers.
Yeah. Exactly. So they can do that. But there's talk about doing that and then doing a new trilogy based off the original 3. So the whole Veil of the Force type scenario where this is how they'd basically kill off the 3 trilogy that just happened is that they'd go back and say at that point when the Emperor did try to jump through the Veil of the Force, he was actually killed at that point. And so if he's truly dead there, then the other 3 never happened. Which means Rey never exists. None of that shit ever happens. So instead, they'll do a Luke Skywalker, and then they'll do another trilogy, which, they probably will bring new characters. More likely, obviously, Han won't come back because Harrison Ford just doesn't want to do it. And then, obviously, with Leia or Carrie Fisher no longer around, that's not really an option. But they would restart it, basically. So that's the newest rumor. So we'll see. I mean, I like the fact that they get rid of Kennedy because she just hasn't done shit right for that one. And I'm happy if they bring Lucas back because he is the creator of the whole universe. So he is the best to help with that.
Yeah, and then there's the guys that have been kind of like Mandalorian and who've kind of carried it on. They would, of course, have a bigger role.
Yeah, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Those 2 alone are also doing a fantastic job. So I agree. But anyway, that's the latest rumor there.
Yeah.
On that one, but
yesterday I just saw a thing where it was talking about who the best female Jedi was. They were kind of like going over that, like where does Rey rank in terms of the best female one? And I still think though the best one was I can't pronounce her name, but like Celie or whatever from Old Republic, the MMORPG. Mike, if you've never seen it, there's all the cinematics from that MMORPG that they did for Old Republic.
Yeah.
They put them together. It's about 25 minutes long. If anybody ever has a chance to see it, it's honestly way better than any of the sequels that they did. I mean, the fight scenes are amazing that they did in it. I mean, of course, it's computer generated, so of course it's going to be. But
of course, right.
But you actually like tie in more with the characters in this little 20-minute long thing that they did. But like it's just funny that JD brings that up because I just watched that yesterday. This thing about who the best who the best one was. But I mean
he has those moments.
Yes.
Good stuff. Fantastic. Awesome. Well, hey, this has been a great show this week. We tried our new video Well, yeah, we tried our new video.
We'll see how.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Hopefully, people enjoy it. We'll make sure to reference it as well out there in the podcast channel and whatnot. So if people want to see the live stream of our conversation, that works too. And then, of course, you can listen to as always on our podcast specifically. So, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. I'm going to take us out now, and here we go. Here's that special music for those who are on the podcast. This is fantastic. Otherwise, everybody have a good week, and we'll talk to you next week then. Take care.
See ya.
See.